Recently, the folks over at Pokemon Go Hub had an interview with Kim Adams, who is the art director for Pokemon Go. And I have to tell you, there was a lot of information that was shared that I am actually really curious about. That's what this video is going to be all about, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alright, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Alright, so we got some information from Niantic developers regarding the state of Pokemon Go and some upcoming features that they plan to implement into the game. I'm really excited and curious about these upcoming new features, but first I wanted to talk about what they said regarding the current state of Pokemon Go. First and foremost, they gave kind of a post-mortem on routes, and I actually think some of this information is very important. They talked about how they originally wanted the review process to take only 24 hours to 48 hours, but this is no longer possible. They didn't really speak on why it was not possible, but they simply stated that it is something that they saw as a bit of a stretch goal, and unfortunately they did not meet it. So for all the players who are frustrated that routes are taking way too long in order to be accepted or rejected, well, it looks like there is a reason for it, and Niantic really didn't disclose it. Personally, I don't think each route is being reviewed manually by a human reviewer. I think it's all being done through an artificial intelligence algorithm, and maybe that algorithm is not finely tuned and they're still working on it. But regardless, I really hope they come up with a new system because currently it takes way too long for a route to get reviewed and accepted. So I really do think what they need to do is actually make it so it's peer reviewed. I think that's the best way to go because it's certainly been working for Niantic Wayfarer. I mean, I don't know, maybe they could add routes to Niantic Wayfarer and just make it a part of the peer-to-peer review system. I think that would certainly expedite the process, or maybe it could make it extremely long, considering that a lot of Pokestop reviews take a very long time. I'm really wondering what they could do to expedite it because as of right now, there's just no routes in our areas, and that's a really bad thing. Now, another thing that they mentioned is that they're looking into the raiding experience and trying to see if they can improve it. I actually think they've made a lot of improvements with raiding over the years. Like when it comes to in-person raids, they increased the rewards by including Rare Candy XL, and then of course they added the Ready button, which they've been kind of testing at Pokemon Go Fest. I actually think this is a good thing, and there are a lot of improvements that they could do to make it even better. So yeah, overall, in terms of the current state of the game, I think that they are very mindful of what's been going on, and they want to make sure the gameplay is feeling a lot better. So I'm really hopeful about that, and I really hope they continue to do a lot of work, because Pokemon Go is in need of a lot of polish, and that's been apparent for the last several years. Now moving on, let's talk about some of the upcoming features that they teased. Well, they didn't really tease anything. They didn't say anything specific was coming to Pokemon Go, but they did say that a big blockbuster feature is on the horizon, which I'm actually very curious about. The best we could do at this point is of course speculate, and I really do not necessarily know what they could bring at this point. This year we've had routes, showcases, the Pokemon Go Plus Plus, and a whole bunch of other things already introduced, and for them to have another landmark new feature would be pretty exciting in my opinion. But of course, the thing that I'm worried about is that it is going to be implemented in the same way that both showcases and routes were implemented, in that there was a lot of bugs, there wasn't that much content at launch, and of course, there was a time to research that not a lot of players could actually complete, mainly because the feature was not ready. So hopefully this time around, they will be a lot more active and a lot more attentive, because I really think if they were to release anything new into Pokemon Go at this point, it needs to be incredibly polished, because routes was a huge disaster. Like, a lot of people were looking forward to it, but of course, upon launch, it was just an unmitigated mess. I mean, what are the features that they could implement at this point? Well, breeding is something that I think a lot of players were speculating would make it into Pokemon Go sometime this year. That is a feature that has been long rumored to be a part of Pokemon Go. I mean, I really do think it could fit into the game at this point. Of course, at the moment, the only way to re-roll IVs is through trading with friends, and I really think there could be another system for them to do that. Yes, breeding could be a way for you to do that, like any non-legendary or non-mythical or non-Ultra Beast Pokemon, that you could get a copy of them through breeding. Like, I really do think that could be something really cool for Pokemon Go, and I really do hope they implement it well. And of course, another thing that they could implement is something new for gym battles, because this is one of the most outdated forms of gameplay, yet it is one of the most crucial. And I really feel like there should be some new features and new mechanics with gym battles to actually make it a lot more appealing to the general public. Long gone are the days where we've had actual team rivalries, and I know a lot of players do not miss it, but I actually thought it was a fun form of gameplay, considering that one of the aspects of the original Pokemon Go that a lot of players found intriguing was, of course, the whole territorial aspect of it. But it was really difficult to balance, considering that there was a lot less Team Instinct players and way more Team Mystic players, so a lot of towns typically did not have a lot of Instinct gyms, while at the same time they typically had way too many Mystic gyms. So I really do hope they find a way to balance it if they end up doing something with gym battles. Now, the one thing that I'm worried about is that when they say feature, they're not necessarily talking about anything gameplay related, but they're talking about specific Pokemon. Like, they've certainly done that in the past, like they've stated how certain Pokemon would be introduced and they called it a new feature. I really do not like the idea of them calling Pokemon releases as features, and I really hope that's not the case here, and I really don't think it will be, but yeah, who knows, that is definitely a possibility, and there are certainly a lot of exciting Pokemon on the way, but I really do feel like that is something that should be a given, and they need to give players some new things to actually enjoy while they're playing Pokemon Go. Some of the directions that I would like to see them take is just simple things that we could do on the daily, like the daily adventure incense. I think stuff like that is definitely going to enhance Pokemon Go. Stuff that's not necessarily big features that require you to spend money, or little features that people will just simply not care about. I really think that features need to be rewarding on top of everything, and they also need to actually incentivize you to do it in some way, like adding rare Pokemon or even something like Zygarde cells. I mean, speaking of which, that is another reason why I really think whatever new features they implement need to be well polished, because that's one aspect of routes that players absolutely do not like. The fact that Zygarde cells are incredibly broken and they just do not necessarily work the way players want them to, it's made routes incredibly frustrating, and that is something that was supposed to be a really cool new feature. So when I hear that Niantic is planning to release blockbuster features, I just hope that it is all well polished, because at this point, anytime they release something, there's just a huge wave of skepticism and a lot of negativity from the Pokemon Go community. It just seems like anything they do is never received well. We of course have Pokemon Go Fest New York coming really soon here, and the global Pokemon Go Fest shortly after that, so I really do think there's a lot of things that players can look forward to that are not necessarily new features, but I really do hope that if they plan to release new features after Pokemon Go Fest, that it does actually go well, and I really do hope it is polished. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I think there's been a lot of things with Pokemon Go that hasn't gone really well, and I do think Niantic has a lot of work cut out for them. Unfortunately, they did go through some major layoffs recently, so I'm pretty sure they're a bit understaffed for the scope of Pokemon Go that they want to accomplish, but I really do hope they pull it off. I don't necessarily know if it means they need to hire new developers. I really do not think that's realistic at this point, but I really just hope Pokemon Go succeeds next year and the rest of this year, because Pokemon Go has had a very tumultuous year, and I really feel like there's a lot of ground that Niantic needs to make up, especially if they want this game to last for 10 to 20 or even 30 years in the future. But yeah, that's going to be it for this discussion video. I just wanted to talk about this interview because anytime Niantic developers talk with the Pokemon Go community, it typically draws a lot of discussions, and I really did want to give my personal thoughts regarding everything that was talked about. And at the same time, I would love to know your thoughts down below. Are you curious about what is coming to Pokemon Go? What do you think it actually could be? Definitely share those thoughts in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. And if you want to interact with me in some way within Pokemon Go, like with remote raids, then do so by joining me on Patreon. And as always, if you want to support me in a non-monetary way, you can follow me on social media. I'm on the following platforms. My handle is @Jinsula, so make sure you go on those platforms and follow me there. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.